When we become adults, it seems like we choose our own path, build our personalities from lived experience and education, decide for ourselves whom to love, what to believe in, and what to fight for. But quite unexpectedly, behind the twists of fate, behind our adult actions and decisions, subtle shadows flicker, patterns and scenarios our parents and early experiences instilled in us. Why do so many of our conflicts, fears, habits, and even dreams actually reflect not so much who we are today, but the wounded child within us? For a long time, I thought my strength was independence. I moved away from home, built a career, set ambitious goals, and made choices my parents didn't approve of. I was proud to be self-sufficient, to have learned how to earn a living and accept my adult life. But one day, after yet another meltdown, an empty weekend, some odd misunderstanding with friends, I was overwhelmed with a thought: none of this feels real. Am I living for myself, or is all my drive just an echo of the past? In psychology, childhood trauma isn't just about big tragedies, like loss, violence, or betrayal. Sometimes it's hidden in small things. What's left unsaid, cold looks, parental shame, dismissal, the ignoring of our feelings. A child's mind perceives these as threats. I am not worthy of love if I cry. I am only good if I measure up. My emotions are dangerous. These thoughts seep deep, like poison, forming central beliefs, core patterns that shape our adult lives. Books that help me understand this include Lindsay C. Gibson's Adult Children of Emotionally Immature Parents, which thoroughly explains how parental emotional immaturity creates a chronic sense of loneliness and insecurity in children. In Bessel van der Kolk's The Body Keeps the Score, there's an important lesson. The body stores every shock, even ones we consciously forget, and later responds unconsciously, with headaches, migraines, panic attacks, even chronic illnesses if our pain goes unprocessed. I remember childhood as a series of moments where feelings were dangerous. If I cried, I was told, "Suck it up, it's nothing, adults don't cry." If I was anxious, I was advised not to show emotions. When I wanted to confess love or fear, it often hit a wall: silence, sometimes irritation. It wasn't until adulthood that I puzzled over why I struggled to show affection, feared asking for help, or felt anxious at big moments, like interviews, public speaking, intimate relationships. It turns out all of it was the continuation of a childhood script. The reason childhood trauma lives on inside us for so long comes down to how our minds work. Our brains in early childhood form what's called an attachment model. In Bowlby's theory, it decides whether to trust or fear the world, to ask for support or to save ourselves, to express emotions or to shut down. If a child repeatedly encounters unpredictability, criticism, coldness, or bans on emotion, their psyche learns to protect itself with repressed feelings, with avoidance, or by over-pleasing others just to avoid danger. The longer we're unaware of these mechanisms, the more we fall into the same traps: critical situations, conflict, repeating hurtful patterns in friendships, love, work. My journey to awareness was painful. For years I didn't connect my anxieties to the past. I blamed myself for nervousness, for avoiding conflict, for wanting to be convenient for everyone. It showed up in my inability to say no, my fear of making someone angry, and the fact that even praise felt suspicious. Inside, there was always a hunger for approval mixed with a fear of rejection. One day I signed up for therapy. The first session, tears for no apparent reason. Suddenly, memories surfaced. Mom not noticing me after a rough day, Dad withdrawing during arguments, feeling alone when even my own home didn't feel like a refuge. The therapist explained, childhood trauma is not just about events, but about how our minds and bodies react, how our feelings go unlived, unprocessed. It's important not to avoid memories, but to walk through them again, with support, forgiveness, and honesty. A big step in my own realization came from Peg Streep's Daughter Detox. She writes about the chronic trauma of emotional hunger, when a child doesn't get enough warmth, validation, protection. As an adult, I sometimes sensed a hungry little girl awakening in me, constantly seeking reassurance, afraid of losing relationships, unsure how to build healthy boundaries. Working through patterns was slow and messy. I started to notice my reactions. No strong emotion would show up out of the blue. Almost always its roots went back to past experience. Why am I anxious, even when things are objectively okay? Why do I avoid real talk about values, prefer to agree so as not to argue? Why do choices feel dangerous? What if someone condemns me? The answers weren't about the present, but about rigid family scripts where emotional freedom was seen as a threat. A lot changed when I started separating myself from my parents' beliefs. Before, I would guess what I needed to be to please everyone. Over time, I found my own center. I can be myself, even if others don't like it, and I am only responsible for my own life. It's important to realize, self-acceptance isn't selfishness, it's a basic but vital foundation for mental health. Facing conflict became easier once I accepted that I don't have to be nice or perfect. I let myself get angry, feel sadness, admit fear, say no. At first, my parents objected. Where was their obedient daughter? But over time, we learned to speak honestly. The pain faded, respect, trust, and room for new relationships grew. Gennady Starshinbaum's book Childhood Trauma, Attachment Types, and Family Scenarios unpacks family roles in ways out of chronic conflict. The author analyzes how the victim-savior-aggressor pattern gets passed through family lines, and describes methods for running feelings, forgiveness, and updating boundaries with awareness. An important milestone for me was learning emotional skills through mindfulness, letting myself feel, being present with emotion, not shaming myself. I kept journals, writing everything I felt without censoring it, then revisited them, watching my reactions shift as I had honest inner talks. Tried to figure out what I wanted and feared. Gradually, freedom set in. Now, I am no longer afraid of loneliness, it's my friend. I build relationships without the panic of rejection. I choose work and friends not for approval, but for joy and growth. The new quality of life isn't about the absence of conflict, but the ability to be honest in it, to stand up for myself without aggression, to accept others' feelings without fearing ill lose their love. Childhood trauma doesn't just vanish, but it's no longer the jailer of my fate. I learned to see my parents as regular people who were themselves wounded, carrying patterns they didn't know how to break. Forgiveness didn't happen in a flash, but through the work, tears, talks, trying to explain that I hurt, that I won't play their roles anymore. Irina Semazorova's About Your Own Mother helped me rethink relationships with parents in the past. Every adult can revisit their patterns, not fear being the bad child, not justify their feelings. Rewriting family scripts is the start of being truly grown up. Now I feel it's important to share this journey with others. In every conflict, every repeating fear, lies a chance to get closer to yourself. Don't be afraid to ask for forgiveness, to talk about pain, to show vulnerability. Real emotions breed new relationships, and bring opportunities to build your own scripts, not by someone else's chart, but by your heart's guidance. The main insight from all this? You don't have to keep living a script that hurts you. It's important to recognize the source of your feelings, to separate the child from the adult, to let yourself be weak, to ask for help, to talk about what scares you. Self-work, therapy, books, they're all support, but the core is giving yourself permission to be real. If you feel held back by the past, remember, trauma is not a verdict. Everyone has the right to change their scripts, refuse outdated roles, break out of someone else's scenario prison. Building your adult life means not fearing conflict, allowing mistakes, seeking out joys, creating relationships based on mutual respect. Thank you for walking this path alongside me. Don't fear telling your story. Don't fear acknowledging difficult emotions. Don't fear searching for new life scripts. Your feelings are important, your experiences are valid, and your future is in your hands.